Welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and Bruno Fernandez could seriously be leaving Manchester United for Saudi Arabia. There's lots to talk about this morning, but we are going to hit this straight away. And I just want to say, we've got a live poll if you're watching live. Should Manchester United sell Bruno Fernandez if the bid is £100 million from Saudi Arabia and he wants to go? I tell you, it's nearly 50-50. And this is what I love about football, and this is what I love about the community, and this is what I love about Manchester United fans in general, is that it's not just sensationalist claptrap. It actually is. The guy's going to be 30 in September. His contract's up in 2027. He wants a new contract, and he's on 250 grand a week. And you've probably got Saudi Arabia saying, there's £100 million. It's not a definite no, is it? But Ten Hag doesn't want it to happen. A lot of us don't want it to happen. But that £100 million into this football club would be massive profit for Manchester United, considering how long Bruno's been here. And it would make a massive difference to many of the issues that Ineos have inherited. I'm not conflicted on this. Absolutely, I know what I think about it, and I want to get some of your thoughts as well. But where is the story coming from? Because I think the first thing you have to say is, where is the story coming from, Mark? Because we hear crap every day about transfers, etc. I can also tell you that we'll be talking about Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood, why we haven't signed anybody this week, and why we don't need to panic about it. Also, just a little bit of breaking news coming out that the compensation Man United paid for Dan Ashworth was around £10 million. Well, I told you that on Monday. Sometimes we do get stuff right. But look, this is coming in from very credible sources in Saudi Arabia. It's actually coming from the official account of Al Riyadiyah, which is the national newspaper for Saudi Arabia. And what they're saying is this: Bruno Fernandez's future at Manchester United is not guaranteed because the potential offer presented to the player and Manchester United from the Saudi investment fund is too good. United hope and are planning to keep him at the club and fulfills Ten Hag's wishes. But I repeat, the price and what is on offer for both player and club is huge. And remember, the way it works in Saudi Arabia is this isn't actually Cristiano Ronaldo's Saudi Arabian club or Benzema's club bidding for him. This is what happens sometimes with the Saudi Arabian league. It's actually their investment fund who buys the player and then allocates them to a club. So this is genuine, good source information. And before Ten Hag had been given the job, Bruno Fernandez's agent was categorically, Fabrizio confirmed it and many people did as well, categorically touting him around Europe and Saudi Arabia. To what ends? We still don't really know. I think many of us think that, and that genuinely did happen. Like, Bruno Fernandez's agent was going around Europe just generating interest to see what interest there was there. That's genuine. Like that did happen. Why did that happen? Well, the assumption was that it happened because if they were going to change the manager again, then Bruno Fernandez at 29, 30 in September maybe didn't fancy another 4 years of a project that's going to basically be his last 4 years at the top level. Maybe he wanted a Bayern Munich or a Real Madrid or whatever was out there. So that was there. But ultimately, another flip side to that coin was maybe they felt that he should have better wages than he's getting and were looking to see what was on offer out there. But that was genuinely happening. This is genuine information from Saudi Arabia. Genuine information as well was that they bid last summer, last January, and they're going again. So it's there. The Saudi Arabian interest is there. The money is there. The player is there. But this is our captain, and this is a player that is absolutely fundamental to Manchester United. And I completely understand why Erik Ten Hag would not want this to happen, because it would be very much like Jose Mourinho losing prime John Terry, or, you know, Liverpool losing prime Steven Gerrard, or Man City losing prime Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously, Manchester United losing Bruno Fernandes would have a massive impact on this team, and you might end up with £100 million in your pocket, but Spurs did the same thing when they sold Gareth Bale. They weren't a better team for a load of money, and that's the balancing act. It's 50-50 in the poll. The poll, live poll, if you're not watching live, is would you sell Bruno for £100 million? 50-50. I mean, this is democracy. You can talk about the election day in the UK. Screw that, was a one-horse race. This is democracy. This is a vote. This is 50-50. And I completely see both sides. But I suppose it's about time I jumped in and didn't just sit there like a coward on the fence. Absolutely not. I'm not doing this deal. No. And I will tell you why. If you want to raise £100 million, sell Marcus Rashford and Scott McTominay. Sell two players that I don't think actually offer leadership or consistent quality. I'm not selling Bruno Fernandez to raise £100 million because he is a player that is there every week, that is a leader, and that the team react to. And you can't put a price on that. So if you are doing it because you want to raise £100 million, don't sell Bruno Fernandez, sell Rashford and Scott McTominay, because we can get by without them. It will be a loss, but it will raise you £100 million. Bruno Fernandez, you get this wrong, that £100 million is a waste of time. He is the captain of the club. He is somebody in that team that actually inspires and people listens to. And when you take him out of that team, which we saw at the end of last season when he had that injury, we are terrible. And people go, well, Mason Mount can do that role. What? The guy who's barely kicked a ball in a year and we don't even know if he's any good? Oh, Martinez could be the captain. Oh, yeah, the guy who was out all injured last year as well. Like, you cannot put a price on what we get from Bruno Fernandez. Absolutely no for me. An absolute no. And I tell you what, I'd even level this. If we sell Bruno Fernandez this summer, Ten Hag may well be sacked by Christmas because the void he will leave to that team. I mean, you imagine a team without Bruno in it. Right, midfield three of new signing, Mainu and Mount. Oh my God, so much experience there, so much motivation, so much leadership. A front three of Rashford, Garnacho and maybe Xerxes or Rasmus. Oh my God, that front six is it's sinking in its own experience and leadership. Absolutely not. No, not for me. Absolutely not. But, as much as I'm adamantly no, I absolutely take on board the yes side of the argument because you've got a player who is on 250 grand a week, who will be 30 in September, and that the age doesn't matter to me. Look at Toni Kroos. Bruno Fernandez has never been quick, so he's never been injury prone. So I don't think you're going to see a drop off in Bruno Fernandez over the next 3 years. But he does want a new contract, and Manchester United do not want to give anybody another contract over 250 grand a week. So I think that from a business point of view, £100 million, you're never going to get that. You're never going to get it again for Bruno Fernandez. So you either take it now or you just decide to keep him for the next 3 or 4 years and there'll be very little resale value. So I understand the business side of it, but I don't understand the football side of it because you can't put a price on a player like that. I mean, look, we got £80 million for Cristiano Ronaldo. It may as well have been £800 million. You can't replace it. And I'm not saying that Bruno Fernandes is Cristiano Ronaldo, but that was a Man United team that was getting to Champions League finals and winning the Premier League. This is a Man United side that can win domestic cups but struggles to top 4. You take Bruno away from that and what are we? I don't think we get better. So for me, it's absolutely not. But I do acknowledge that this is genuine. And actually, I think the big elephant in the room here that people aren't realising is if you've got, and I can't put it in the poll because it's very different, but if you've got a player that wants to go, you've got to let him go. That's the decider, isn't it? Like, I can say no, you can say yes, and I can say it's going to be a big issue for us next season if we haven't got Bruno. But if he knocks on the door and says, I want a new contract, and if you're not going to give it me, I want to go to Saudi Arabia, you got to let him go. And I think he'll be a fool. I think he'll be a fool at 30 to go and play in Saudi because I still think he's one of the best players in the Premier League. And when you go there, you're basically going to a league where you're going to spend 2 or 3 years and you lose your final years at the top. But he's just spent the last few weeks with Cristiano Ronaldo, who's playing in the Euros. So Bruno knows he'll still be playing in the World Cup. Life-changing money, huge money. It's a moral question, isn't it? Like, there are players, Kevin De Bruyne has even hinted at it, that fancy the Saudi Arabian money. We've seen it in golf. There are players that go, I don't want to go there because it's not competitive. I want to still play at the highest level. That's the question here. We can vote. Ineos can think about it. Ten Hag can say no. But if Bruno Fernandes comes back from the Euros and says, I want to go unless you give me stupid money to stay. And that's the problem here. Because Saudi Arabia will be tax-free saying to Bruno Fernandez £1 million a week. I might have gone over the top there, but it could be £600,000-700,000 a week. On £250,000 a week in the UK, he will only be taking home about 125k a week. So you go from 125k a week in your pocket to 6, 7, 800k a week in your pocket. So you knock on the door and you go, look, Saudi Arabia will give you 100 million quid and they're going to put 600 grand a week in my pocket. You're putting 125 grand a week in my pocket. Give me 250 grand a week and I'll think about it in my pocket. Well, that's 350, 400 grand a week. I think we've got a problem here. I think it's a problem we don't want. I think it's a problem we don't like. I think it's a problem we can't control. I think if Bruno Fernandez comes back and says, look, give me a new contract or I'm going, we've got to let him go. And that's horrible. But we don't know where Bruno's head is. And what I would say about Bruno is he strikes me as a player that wants to play football. And he strikes me as a player that wants to play at a level that his ability dictates. I don't think he wants to go. There's no way Ten Hag will want him to go. And therefore, I think it's off the table. But there's 3 stages to this. 1, if it's up to us, we shouldn't be selling him. 2, if we want to raise £100 million, he's not the player to do it with. Do it with Rashford and McTominay. And 3, if he wants to go, I don't see how we're going to be able to keep him. So very, very interesting. And look, if I change that to, look, I mean, this is unbelievable. It's locked in on 50-50 and the poll. Would you sell Bruno for 100 million? I guarantee you if I took that down to 60, that would suddenly go up to 90% no. So I think people are getting greedy eyes, probably quite rightly, about the opportunity of bringing £100 million in. But Bruno Fernandez should not be the sacrificial lamb that I've been talking about to raise money for this football club, because he's somebody that's actually given what we need. He's actually somebody who has the right personality, the right injury record, the right consistency, the right leadership. Taking that out of the dressing room and taking it out of the club would be horrible. And I think it would be a problem. Morning, Mark. Let's go through some of your comments here because we've got a lot to get through. United should be all over the Chiesa deal. 25 million for a very good experienced winger, says Ryan. I don't know where you're getting that price from, but that does seem it. Bruno wants a new contract to stay, says Robert. Yes, we've just spoken about that, and I think that could be a problem. Acid said, Bruno's the best post-Fergie signing by a mile, and he gets it. 150 million plus a Pedri or Musiala, but then we're lacking a captain, which we will miss. Jacob says, morning, Mark. Selling Bruno could be a good idea if we can go in, get in a player like Xavi Simons, as he is young and hungry for a big move. Yeah, but you know what, Jacob? This is what I mean. I sort of get it, but you're completely and utterly dismissing. Is Xavi Simons going to come in and grab the game, grab the team and be a leader and be available every week? And, that you can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on that. We'll talk about Chiesa in a minute because apparently it's Fabrizio Romano who said that it's 25 million. Why can't we just swap him for Sancho then? If that's what people want. Bruno to test the new wage structure from Ineos, says Kieran. Ian says, I love Bruno, but at his age, we will never get a huge offer like that again. We could buy a top-class younger player that we could build a team around, says Ian. But I worry about this. I mean, I'm not taking a pop at Ian, but I worry about this. I'm somewhat perplexed and confused. If we get rid of Bruno and we bring in a young number 10 and we have a mixed season, people will be saying Ten Hag out. Talk Sport will be ringing in. Talk Sport, get Ten Hag out. Lineker and co will be interviewing, why are you in a job? Like, what are we then? So if we sell Bruno, we're getting a young number 10 in and we're starting another project. Or are we going into year 3 of the current project? And I'm confused because I thought we were going into year 3 of the current project. We want Champions League football this year. We want to start closing the gap on those above us. And then you've got other people saying, no, cash in on 100 million, get a young player in and we'll build. And I think that's going to be the problem here. If we were a democracy, we'd be split because some of us are saying we've got to build on what we've done in the last 2 years and this is a very important year. And you've got some people going, well, no, let's get a younger player in and let's be patient. But it won't work because you'll get a massive pile-on from agenda press and some fans saying results aren't good enough, get rid of this manager. And then you've got a young team, a new manager, and it's chaotic again. The vision of the club is either this year's really important, in which case you're going to want people like Bruno, or this year's another write-off as we build a young team. And that needs to come from Sir Jim, and that needs to go out in a public statement. Because at the moment, I think if we were a country, we'd have very mixed politics. We'd have very mixed visions. What is the vision for this year? Are we top 4, win the Europa League, or are we get rid of senior players and start from scratch again? And that's sort of, I suppose, why we're split on the vote as well. I can see why Ineos would consider the offer. However, even long-term viewing, this weakens the team. The structure above Ten Hag are there to make football decisions as well as financial ones. This is not a good football decision, says Patrick Lynch. Thank you. Ian Disbury, I love Bruno, but it is... I've done that one from Ian. 10 million for DA and they got Mitchell. Newcastle have done us. Oh, Dan Ashworth, Newcastle got 10 million and they've got Paul Mitchell. That's from Stan. Absolutely paramount that we don't sell Bruno, says Tom Grant. His leadership and experience are priceless, no matter what the offer. Surely you agree with me, Mark? Well, I do, yeah. Morning, Mark. If Bruno goes, who would you choose to replace him? My choice would be Vert, says Daly. Well, let me just say this as well, because I've played the game. You get £100 million for Bruno. Don't get the £100 million and then go and spend it. Spend it before. Do not let the rest of Europe know that you've got £100 million for Bruno, because the minute you go to Leverkusen for Wirtz, they're going to offer you. They're going to want 120. £100 million means nothing if you don't get value for money elsewhere. So this is the problem. You know, Spurs did this when they sold Gareth Bale. They bought a load of players before they did the deal with Real Madrid. So we would have to be bringing players in, but you know, people aren't stupid. The minute we start bidding for Wirtz, they know we're selling Bruno to Saudi Arabia, so they'll bump the price up. So it's very difficult. Selling Bruno to raise funds ahead of the Deadwood inconsistency is bonkers. His value as a player is priceless, as Captain T1. Well, look, as I said, I've got no doubt in my mind that we will end up with Marcus Rashford and Scott McTominay staying. But if you want to raise £100 million, they should be going. They're homegrown talent where it's pure profit. And you would get 25 to 30 million pounds for McTominay, and you would get 65 to 75 million pounds for Rashford. You've just raised your 100 million pounds. So I don't agree with the 100 million pounds. Doesn't bother me. We can raise 100 million pounds by making different decisions. It's more about whether he wants to go. Pure no way. He loves the club and plays with everything. There are others that need to go, says Alan. Captain says, would Ten Hag have a say in this? Apparently he has a veto on transfers. What about player sales? I think he would do, but if the player wants to go, that's a different thing. We've seen at Chelsea what happens when you sell a lot of players and replace them with inexperienced players with high potential. Keep Bruno, says the Beast. I can accept a 6th place finish next season without Bruno if we can invest 100 million to fight for the title in 5 years, says Deb. Yeah, but I don't think a lot of our fans can accept that. I think we'd end up with a civil war again. If Bruno left, who would you buy to replace him, says Wolfie. Well, exactly, yeah. Rashford stopped running on Bruno's watch as captain, says Kyle. Bruno, a club's soul, should never be for sale, says Eugene. I want a left-footed winger, but would have Chiesa. We're going to talk about Chiesa in a moment. That's from Joe. The situation why the new structure is important, says Gear. Don't forget there are no taxes in Saudi. If you earn $1 million, you have $1 million in your pocket. I mentioned that, Sven, yeah. Bruno's consistency is irreplaceable, says Lee. And we won't compete for the title for 3 years. We should cash in for a young player. In 3 years, he'll be 32. Just need to get the right replacement, says Rory. Lives for you. Thank you very much for your super chat. But Rory, I don't disagree with anybody's point here on this. I don't disagree with anybody's point, but read the room on the football club. There are people out there, there are journalists out there, there are mainstream outlets out there who want Ten Hag sacked. They feel that they lost. And they're not licking their wounds and forgetting about it. It started already. They want Ten Hag out. And they're going to go for him next season. There's fans in our fan base, there are journalists, and there are mainstream media outlets that want Ten Hag out. Now, you might sit there, Rory, and many of you, and go, look, let's sell Bruno, let's get a young player in, and let's rebuild. But you're never going to get the chance to rebuild because those people are going to be rocking the boat from day one. They're going to be rocking the boat to try and get what they want. And they don't even know what they want. They just want to get proved right. They've got no alternative. They don't know who they want to replace Ten Hag. I've played the game. I've seen the interviews. I've seen the clips. I've seen the newspaper articles, and I've listened to the call-ins. They have got no alternative. They've actually just become the bitter minority that won't shut up. They don't have an alternative. They never did have an alternative. They just want to be proved right about Ten Hag. They want Ten Hag out. They still want Ten Hag out. They never had an alternative, and they still don't have an alternative because there is no alternative. They didn't want Tuchel, they didn't want De Zerbi, they didn't want Pochettino, they just wanted Ten Hag out. And all those people have been interviewed and aren't good enough, so who do they want now? They don't want anyone, they just want Ten Hag out. So to get rid of Bruno and bring young players in and pretend that we're going to get, a reset, we're not going to get it. Because they're going to be going, oh, look, he's lost to Fulham again in this. We can't. I just think it would be absolutely catastrophic to remove Bruno Fernandez from this team and go into next season and expect us to build on what we've done in the last 2 years. I think it would ultimately end up with Erik Ten Hag's job being in grave danger as he loses somebody that is so significant in that dressing room. You take Bruno Fernandez out of that team, who's the leader? Marcus Rashford? Casemiro's not there anymore. Can Martinez step into that void? Does he want to step into that void? Is he good enough to step into that void? You take Bruno out that team, we're back under an English ownership. It'll be Rashford, it'll be Shaw, it'll be maybe Maguire, it'll be McTominay. They'll be the senior players. Nothing against them, but would you want Rashford and McTominay and Luke Shaw being the leadership group of Manchester United? Serial underperformers for many, many years. I think this is the problem. You take Bruno out of that team, the people are like Rasmus and Garnacho and Mainu who see him as the leader. I'm not saying he's the perfect leader, but he's better than what the alternative would be. And this is what I mean. You cannot put a price on selling Bruno Fernandes because the leadership vacuum would just disappear. And you always need, all right, you might have a manager, you might have a good manager, you might have good coaches, but you always need the lads. Who's the leader in the dressing room? Who's the leader on the coach? Who's the leader of the lads? And I look at that, if you take Bruno out, and you really are going Rashford, Luke Shaw, Scott McTominay, they'd be the leaders. That's scary to me. GC says De Ligt's a leader. Yeah, but when has a new signing ever come in and been able to get hold of the dressing room? That's not going to happen. Bruno will fund the Neves deal, says Kaluba. Hi, Mark. I think we should take a gamble for Chiesa. He's only 25 million. I think it's a steal, says Ishmael. The rumoured offer for Bruno does make you realise we do need to be looking to bring in young prodigy to learn from him and eventually replace him, says Steg. And Ian says, when I said a younger player, I meant someone with experience and leadership qualities, maybe 24 to 25. It's a difficult decision, though, says Ian. And Mr. Gamer says, I don't think Bruno should be going until we get a backup plan. We need to, you know what this highlights, whatever the outcome is, what this highlights is, and I think we can all agree on this, is that the leadership in that dressing room is crap and has been crap for a long time. Varane is gone. Casemiro probably will go. If Bruno goes as well, we've just destroyed all experience and respect in that dressing room and created a scenario where you're asking players to look up to underperformers. That really worries me because that's worth a number of points per season to have that sort of structure. And I think about bloody hell, Roy Keane's and that teams that we've had over the years and the amount of leaders are in there. We need to sort that out. Surely you can't get rid of Varane, Casemiro and Bruno in one season, says Boss. And hi Mark, I hope you and your family had a wonderful 4th of July and always remember to add seasonings in your meals, says Miguel. And I can't say the 4th of July for me was any different to any other 4th of July because I'm not American, but I hope you all did have a good day who celebrate that. GC says, unpopular opinion, when Bruno plays, we get 25 shots against. That's got nothing to do with it. GC, you need to go and, I don't want to be horrible, but you need to go and watch football better. So you're saying that we get 25 shots against us because Bruno plays. Yeah. He's been playing for Man United and Portugal for years. Do they get 25 shots against them? It's got nothing to do with Bruno Fernandes why we get 25 shots against us at all. I mean, I don't know whether you're a new viewer on the United stand. I don't think you are. But the reason we were conceding 25 shots last season is because we were trying to press from the front with a defensive line that wants to hold hands with Onana. And it means our midfield gets overrun and they shoot from the edge of the box. So, and a lot of those shots didn't go in either. So, and we still won the FA Cup. So I can't understand how you would put that onto Bruno Fernandez. I really, really don't. Martinez could be a leader, says Obam. Joe says, I remember when I was 14 when Bruno came to United and he revived my love and passion for United after years of disappointment. If he goes, I'll be upset, says Joe. Well, look, we need to move on because it's a news show, but very, very good conversation there and certainly food for thought. I suppose the takeaway is if Bruno Fernandez says he wants to go, we're going to have to let him go. Simple as that. There's not a lot that we wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But Ten Hag doesn't want him to go. I don't think Ineos want him to go. I think reading between the lines, Man United and Ineos don't want to do the deal. But if Bruno Fernandez says he wants to go, there's not a lot you can do. You really can't. If he comes back from the Euros and says, look, I've spent time with Ronaldo, I want to go, the money's ridiculous, you can't match the money, I want to go, we'd have to let him go. But it would be a huge blow for us. Huge blow for us. Would you rather let Rashford or Bruno go? Rashford, 100%. It's not even player FC. 100% Rashford, because he's had 2 bad years in 3. He shows no leadership qualities. He's not creative. He doesn't look like he did 5 years ago. Of course I'd get rid of Rashford over Bruno. It's easy. Juventus consider price tag around 25 million euros with add-ons for Chiesa as current deal expires in a year. Juventus are prepared to sell Chiesa, who's currently not part of Motta's plans, as confirmed yesterday. That's big news. That is big news. That is big breaking news that Chiesa is available for what is effectively £20 million with 1 year left on his contract. He's still 26. Absolutely huge news. This is a player that maybe 3 years ago was being spoken around as a £100 million player and is now available for £20 million. This is a massive... I feel like I'm on That's Football though. I don't feel like I'm on United Stand here, because what I'm saying here is that is an amazing opportunity for somebody. £20 million for 26-year-old Chiesa is an amazing opportunity. It's like a house coming up for sale that, you know, used to be worth about 3 million and is now available for about 500,000. And you're like, well, I've got to go and have a look at it, because why is it dropped in price so much? You know, and some of it could be, you know, only a year left on his contract, or in the house situation, they need to sell quickly. But, you know, you want to have a look under the bonnet. You want to go through the front door. You want to have a look at injury, everything like that. But, I mean, Juventus want Sancho. And Sancho, you know, I don't know how you work this out, because FFP is massive in this. How do you do a deal where Juventus get Sancho and we get Chiesa and it's permanent? And swap deals aren't necessarily the best way of doing it, but there might be something we can do there. I mean, look, could Juventus give us, say, I don't know, I can't even think how you'd make it work, but when Fabrizio Romano says that Chiesa is available for £20 million, that will kickstart a hell of a lot of interest. They've gone really low there. Is he the player for Man United? Well, we compared Chiesa to Elise and Rashford and Garnacho a few weeks ago, and from what I recall, Chiesa puts more crosses in than any of them. Elise was more creative, but in a different way. I think he was more inverted. Chiesa's more about putting crosses in. So, and we do need a right winger. Like, we do need a right winger. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chiesa is right-footed as well. He's an old school sort of right winger. So, yeah, I mean, look, I would consider it, but BVHV says, why would you want Chiesa when you could just keep Pellistri? Because I think Chiesa's better. Simple as that. But I will say I don't think United will even get involved in this. I don't think we're even interested in this. But I've got to say, it would be worth taking a look at, especially when Juventus want Sancho. And, you know, Chiesa is available. But look, his injury record, from what I remember, isn't that great. Let me just have a quick look. Chiesa injury history. I mean, he's had a lot. But then again, there's nothing really significant since January 2022 when he did his cruciate ligament. He's had 10 days, unknown, knee problem in January, 6 days, unknown injury, Christmas, 5 days, probably just fancied Christmas off. October, 17 days, muscular. September, a week, muscular. Seems to get a lot of knee problems and muscular problems. I mean, look, that could be enough, just that you just don't go anywhere near it. But I certainly think it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at him for £20 million. But, as Drip Football says, he might be finished. No player will be able to replace Bruno if he leaves, says Miguel. The difference he makes in the team is priceless. People never know what they have till it's gone. I sort of agree with you word for word there, mate. I think some people are blinded by £100 million, but we can raise £100 million by Rashford and McTominay. So that's not... I think it's all about, if he goes, it's because he wants to go. If he doesn't want to go, we don't do the deal. Love you, Mark, says Thrill. And if we get 100 million and Musiala coming, I would say yes, says John. Well, you wouldn't get 100 million pounds in Musiala, would you? You'd have to spend all of that 100 million pounds on Musiala. And again, he's young and might not settle. Sell Bruno, buy De Jong, properly back the manager, says Remy. And sell the London office would save millions, says Carol J. And players like Chiesa enjoy the privilege of people not watching Italian football. 21 goals and 19 assists in the league after 5 years in Juventus. Very injury prone. Please no, says Larry. There we go. And it's my 21st birthday today. Hoping for a delit for my present from United. Chiesa for 25 million is a no-brainer, says Josh. Well, happy birthday, Josh. Appreciate your super chat and hope you have a great day. This might have been said already, but could this be our Coutinho moment, says Sean Thornton. I know what you mean by Coutinho. You sell him to a lot of money to Barcelona and you use that money wisely. I suppose that's the big question. Are we in a position to use that money wisely? I just don't know. I don't like the deal. I don't like the idea of the deal at all. Just going back to that Delict point, I just want to give you the sort of latest of what's going on around transfers at the moment. Great show with Kev last night. We know with Xerxes, we're just waiting for that sort of final decision, really, aren't we? I think with regards to... Look, another week has passed. Passed. And I think if you're Erik ten Hag, there will be an element of frustration that the first week of July has gone without any in or out. All of June went without any in or out. And you can justify June by saying, well, football financial year ends on the 30th of June and starts on the 1st. So why have Man United not done anything in this first week of July has to be the question. No sales, no purchases. And should we be getting frustrated? Well, look, I think there will be an element of frustration. I'm sure it exists in the fan base. But has any other club signed anybody this week? Not that I'm aware of. Very, very slow start to this transfer window. Nobody's really doing anything major. Obviously, Arsenal are moving on Calafiori, but they haven't announced him yet. People will be doing business. Liverpool haven't done anything yet. Arsenal haven't done anything yet. Man City haven't done anything yet. So, comparable to other clubs, we haven't done anything yet. But the argument to that would be we've got a lot more to do than they have. Like, they're in a better place than us. We've got a lot of players to sell, over 10, and we've got about 6 or 7 to bring in. You can't just let a week run by. So, yeah, I agree. Don't look at what other clubs are doing because their situation is different to ours. Do Arsenal need to sell 10 and buy 6? No. Do Man City? No. Do Liverpool? No. We need to sell over 10 players or remove over 10 players and bring 6 or 7 in. We've done nothing yet. Should we be concerned about it? A whole week has passed. Could we get a deal today? Who knows? But I think what I will say is, of course you want to get those deals done. And I think Ineos want to get those deals done as well. I don't for one second think that we are delaying to save money, maybe like the Glazers did in the past. And what do you want to happen? If Xerxes is saying, I'll make my mind up after the Euros, and De Ligt is saying the same, and Agate is saying the same because he's in the Copa America, and Everton won't budge on the price for Branthwaite, what would you have us do? Oh, we're not waiting. Let's go and buy some shit that we don't really want. Like, we have put the groundwork in to a number of players that we want to bring in. And until we get to the end point, what would you have us do? down tools and go for something that we don't really want. That would be the worst thing. So I don't think there's really anything more that can be done at the moment from Manchester United and Ineos. They have, and we have, quite clearly been briefed by very, very good sources about, very deep conversations with De Ligt, Xerxes and Agate and Branthwaite. We have taken these conversations to the individual or the club, and we are now awaiting for a decision. And that decision is sort of out of our hands. Xerxes knows he's got to make a decision. De Ligt knows he's got to make a decision. And so does Branthwaite. So does Everton with Branthwaite and Agate. So, yes, it would be nice to have had a deal or two done this week. But next week's a very big week, isn't it? Because Netherlands, Uruguay could both be out of the Copa America and the Euros, certainly by the middle of next week. So, and then when that happens, does that mean that we get these deals done very, very quickly? The bottom line is, none of those three players are in training on Monday anyway. And it is frustrating, but none of them are, because they're part of their national teams. And none of them are going to be in training till the end of the month, because they're going to get time off. So, yeah, I want to get deals done. But at this point, there is an element of frustration. But what would you have us do? Down tools and walk away? We can't do that. We can't do that. These are the players that we want to bring in. I think on outgoings, yeah, I would like to see a little bit more movement there, because Mason Greenwood, Jadon Sancho, Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Donny van der Beek. You're not playing in the fucking Euros, and you're not playing in the Copa America. They're all players that will be back in training on Monday. Those 7 players, for me, we should be moving out. Like, they should be gone. Like, they shouldn't be coming back holding their boots on Monday morning. Get rid of them. Like, if they're all going to get sold, get rid of them. Scott McTominay, apparently Fulham, Newcastle, West Ham and Southampton want him. Somebody needs to sit him in a room and go, you're not part of our plans, mate. Because if he's, I don't want to leave, we're saying no to £30 million. Like, these decisions need to be taken place. I don't care how much Scott McTominay's liked at Manchester United. I really couldn't give a shit. Nice lad. Yeah, he is. But there's 30 million quid there. We're trying to be a serious football club. Do you think Pep Guardiola would go, no, we've got to keep Scotty. We've got to keep him around. He's such a good lad. Great laugh. Look at good body, gym work, hard work. Yeah, lovely. No, it'd be like 30 million quid. Do the deal. Do the bloody deal. Put a buyback clause in case he becomes Kevin De Bruyne, but yeah, get him gone. And there's genuine interest in Scott McTominay. There's genuine interest in Wan-Bissaka. There's genuine interest in Mason Greenwood. There's genuine interest in Harry Maguire. There's genuine interest in Victor Lindelof. Start doing these deals, because those players are not part of the Euros. And that I always said at the start of the summer, the biggest thing for us was removing players. And we've got genuine interest in these players. Move them on. If they need a bit of a kick up the arse to make them go, give them the kick. Don't pull them into a room and go, what do you want to do? Go, you're not part of the plans. You've got your offers there. Go and sort out where you want to go, but you're not part of our plans. And if you want to stay, you're not going to be playing. And but you've got clubs there that are going to pick you. You've just sacked 250 people on Wednesday who are on minimum wage compared to these footballers. They're on 35 grand a year. You've sacked 250 people on Wednesday, and you can't pull some of these players in and say, you're not part of our plans, go and sort yourself a move. And I'm not talking to Ineos because I don't know what's going on with them. They hopefully are doing that. I'm talking to those people who are United fans going, yeah, but they're a good player to have around. They're a good lad to have around. We've just sacked 250 people who would have been good to have around because they need to pay the bloody mortgage. These are footballers on huge money who've got other clubs that want to buy them, and you're saying, let it be nice to have them around. And yet we're cutting jobs, putting people on the dole. Screw that. Get rid of them. If we're going to be ruthless with people's lives who've got mortgages to pay, then we've got to be ruthless with this deadwood that's been around this club for years. And look, we have to be ruthless. We have to be. I said it before. if somebody comes in with very good offers for players that you're sort of like that about, take the bloody money and move on. It's as simple as that. JM, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. Orly says we should think that Mount is still we should think that Mount is still here and play the same position as Bruno. We may not like it, but it's a good financial deal, mate. Please do not say sell Bruno Fernandez because we've got Mason Mount. The guy has been injured 4 times in 12 months and barely kicked a ball. You're genuinely going to look at last season and say, let's get rid of Bruno because we've got Mason Mount. Come on. Get the coffee in your mouth and start waking up. What the hell are you talking about? You're telling me that Mason Mount is the Bruno Fernandez replacement. He might well be, but bloody hell. You can't do that. You can't go, oh, we've got Mason Mount, off you go, Bruno. You just can't. Absolute nonsense. Mason Mount may never be a good player for Man United. He might be injured again first month of the season and we've just bought a complete and utter injury-prone player. I hope that's not going to be the case, but you can't jump into the sea with Mason Mount and think you're going to swim. Like, you might sink straight away. Should have taken the 45 million for McTominay last year, says Joe. Yeah, that was surely a myth. I don't think anyone ever offered that. Chiesa loves the packet, says MMA Takedown. And Koi Reen says, my theory is Rude, Heck aren't Ten Hag signings. Maybe it's to put coaching structure with certain playing style that doesn't change every time a manager changes, says Koi. I think it's an odd theory. You might get proved right, but I absolutely do not think we would be bringing in 2 Dutch coaches against Ten Hag's will. Since Elise, have we been looking at other wingers, says Callum? Not that I've heard of. Gummy, welcome to the Members Club. You're an absolute legend. I'm going to gift some memberships in a minute, by the way. This might have been said already, but could this be accurate? I've done that one from Sean Thornton. Right, let me round up some of the other news because it is a news show. So, Simon Stone, last night, BBC journalist, confirming that we've had bids from Lazio and Marseille for Mason Greenwood. Not going to dwell on that for too long, but that's a real positive. When Simon Stone and the BBC are saying that we've actually had those bids, it's not just paper talk from Damartio, etc. We've had bids for Mason Greenwood from Lazio and from Marseille, which means we should be moving to a conclusion with that soon. Really, really soon. Man United on Jadon Sancho, also Simon Stone, probably looking at a loan again. They would like to remove him, but a loan to buy is probably going to be what we do. That's because nobody wants to buy him, if we're being completely honest. Yeah, I don't see that. But also, just talking about Erik ten Hag for a moment. Bit of news as well. Martinez scored for Argentina last night in the Copa America to put them through into the semi-finals. Just on that, just to let you know the situation. Well, no, we'll come back to that in a moment. No, we'll do it now. I want to talk about this goalkeeping coach that Erik ten Hag's brought in as well. But so Argentina are through. They beat Ecuador on penalties. They will play on Wednesday in the semi-final. Uruguay are playing Brazil on Sunday, early hours of Sunday morning. Agate watch. They have a third place game in the semi-final in the Copa America, so it makes no difference now. Martinez will not be finishing with Argentina until the end of next weekend. So even if you get knocked out in the semi-final, you don't get on your holidays 4 days early. They have a third place game. So Martinez will be involved and a Garnacho will be involved in the Copa America until the 14th of July, which means 2 weeks after that is the 28th of July. Another week after that is the 4th of August. We will not see Martinez and Garnacho until the 4th of August in relation to pre-season training. They will be given 3 weeks off. So, yeah. And you've got to start looking at that now because that just means I think we're back from the US tour around that time. So Martinez, Garnacho, not going to be going on the US tour, basically. They will be back training with Man United when we get back, which is the first week of August. I think I've got that right. Let me just double... Goldbridge doing... I'm on the hop here. Let me just get this right. Because I've got all the dates. I've got all the dates here. So, yeah, Manchester United play Liverpool on Sunday the 4th of August. So, yeah, Martinez and Garnacho will be back on the 5th, which is the Monday, the week before the Man City game. So that works out quite well, really. I mean, look, you might not be interested in this, but I am. If in Martinez and Garnacho's case, they will get 3 weeks off, and then they will come back training when we get back from America, and then they'll have about 8 days before the Fulham game. So they'll be fine to play for the Fulham game. They probably play 20 minutes in the Community Shield. So that's not too bad. I think with Bruno and Luke Shaw and Kobe, Mainu and Delo, obviously a lot depends what happens today and tomorrow. I think if they were to get knocked out today, they might go on the tour. But if they get to the semi-finals, they probably won't. And they'll probably come back at the same time. But you know what? Selfishly, if you're on the tour, you want to see Kobe Mainu, you want to see Garnacho, you want to see Bruno. As a Man United fan, I would like to see those players be given 3 weeks off. I really would, because I think that, especially in the case of Mainu, I'd like to see him given 3 weeks off. Just go and absolutely down tools and relax for 3 weeks, and then come back, maybe play 20 minutes in the Community Shield and get yourself ready for the Fulham game. So, yeah. Paying 10 million for Ashworth may become beneficial for United when he can save 40 million in transfers, says Akil. Worth it, in my opinion. I don't think now we will be efficient, though. Romano says Savanch says Romano says Chiesa is available for 25 million. Get him. It was 40 million pounds they turned down from West Ham, says Joe. Something stuck in my throat. Happy Friday, Mark. I'm excited for the games later, says Steve. Yeah, don't forget we're on That's Football. I'm on That's Football for both games. In fact, all 4 games. 2 tomorrow as well, England. Thanks, Steve Woodley. Kelly James says, pay Olmo 55 million release clause and pay Zubamende release clause. Then I'd sell Bruno plus Agate deal ought to be independent of this, says Kelly. But look, I ain't got a problem with that, Kelly. But where's your leadership then? Are we making Marcus Rashford captain? I don't think you can put a price on the influence that Bruno Fernandez has on that team. And I don't think you can just buy it in Dani Olmo or Musiala. JM, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. Thank you very much for that. Also, you might have seen it last night. Big news this. We are removing our goalkeeping coach and we are bringing in a goalkeeping coach that was actually going to be joining Ajax. Another Ten Hag appointment as a goalkeeping coach. Now, look, I'm not leading on goalkeeping coaches or anything like that, but I do think that yet again, this is another example of it just... can't get my words out. It amazes me that this club has been run like this for 10 years. Like, Jose Mourinho didn't have enough of his own people, and Ten Hag clearly hasn't. You know what I look at now? Look at Man United a year ago, yeah? You've got Van der Gaag, you've got Steve McLaren, and maybe 2 or 3 others. And that's about it. And you've got John Murta and Richard Arnold, banker and somebody that nobody really thought was very good. This summer, you've got Blanc, Brailsford, who shit all over Arnold. Then below that, you've got Ashworth, Wilcox, Favell, and Barada, who shit all over Murta. And now you've got a manager that's bringing in coaches. And you wonder how we were doing it without this. It's incredible. How did we even operate without all of this? Because the sheer volume of specialists coming in that we never had for the last decade, it's incredible. And it makes you think about Ollie and Mourinho and Van Gaal and Ten Hag. I mean, I know Ollie didn't win as a trophy, but he did get a second place, to be fair. You think about Van Gaal and Mourinho and Ollie and Ten Hag. They've managed to get us in the top 4. They've managed to finish second. They've managed to win trophies without any bloody structure above them. It's always been, and Mourinho said this, at Man United, you look up and it's you. You're the guy who's going to front up and talk about absolutely everything. It's you. You're just out there to be thrown out. And now we're getting all this structure in. And now we're getting these people coming in who are actually picked by the coach. I mean... Are you telling me that the goalkeeping coach that Ten Hag's had to use isn't even the one he wanted to use? And yet he brought Onana in last year. It's mad. I mean, you can read it into it how you like. Maybe Ten Hag was okay with the goalkeeping coach we had, but just felt that he's not good enough and he wants somebody else. Or maybe he never really wanted this guy and the Glazers wouldn't replace him. I don't know. It's crazy, really. Is there anything else going on this morning? Let me just have a quick check. I'm back at 2 o'clock today. Just a little reminder of what's going on. I'm going to give some memberships in a minute, so it's worth staying to the end. A bit of breaking news that Man United have reached an agreement on personal terms with Xerxes. I think we'd already done that. That we had already done that. I'm just looking where it's coming from. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we've already done this. It's coming in from court offside, and sometimes Romano writes for them, and sometimes Ben Jacobs writes for them. I don't know who's put that. That could just be a different journalist. It sounds like it to me. Personal terms with Xerxes have always been done. Right, let me just give you a summary here because it feels like this is something that's frustrating me, and I'm sure it's frustrating you. We're getting a lot of regurgitation. Now, I'm used to that personally, and with, fan opinion, you get a lot of regurgitation because you're giving the opinion on things. You might, agree terms from Ornstein, and then 4 hours later we do a video on it talking about what that means. But it's really frustrating when the mainstream are doing it because they're getting nothing. I've seen Sky Sports do it. I've seen numerous outlets doing it. I've seen the Manchester Evening News do it, where they rehash a story that they pretend they're exclusive, which never was. They'll go, as reported by us 2 weeks ago, Man United want to sign Elise. And you go to the article 2 weeks ago, and then you go, yeah, but Romano said that 3 weeks before that. So there's a lot of regurgitation going on from the mainstream because they're getting no news. The situation with Xerxes is we have agreed personal terms and wages with him. We don't need to agree a deal with Bologna because we'll pay the release clause. And Xerxes is now making his mind up on what he wants to do. That's been the delay with that because he's waiting till after the Euros. De Ligt, we've agreed personal terms with. We haven't agreed a fee with Bayern Munich yet. Ugarte, don't really know. We're trying to sort a deal with PSG. He's interested in coming to us. I don't think personal terms are done with Ugarte, but personal terms are done with De Ligt. Personal terms are done with Branthwaite, and personal terms are done with Xerxes. And what are personal terms? Just wages, really. Wages. Agent fees are not personal terms. That's something completely different. So we've already done personal terms here. Yeah. Coy Reen says, is Ahmad leaving? Well, I said 2 months ago to you that I've heard that Ahmad might get moved on. And we'll have to wait and see. I like the player, but I felt that it was more, what I was told, it's more coming from the player's side. The player wants to play more football and isn't necessarily happy with how much football he's getting. So it might be that Ahmad pushes for a move. I don't think United want him to go. I don't think Ten Hag wants him to go, but it's more like Ahmad might push for a move. But he's going to play a lot in pre-season. So, and he got injured in pre-season last year, which stunted his growth. So I hope not, like Daniel says. But it's a bit like the Bruno story, isn't it? Yeah, it does happen. OGC says, how did you get kicked out of a tournament in SCH? School? Don't know what you're talking about, mate. Very, very off topic. Anyway, that reminds me, actually. Oh, yeah, we did get kicked out of a tournament in school, actually. I've just remembered. You're right. You're right. Well done. Don't know why you're asking about that. But all that you can get in the book. Please do order the book. Scan the QR code. Links in the description. New Goldbridge Saves Football book is coming out in 3 weeks. So make sure you get your pre-order in. If you want to get a signed copy, get in quickly because there's only a certain number of signed copies. And also don't forget to enter the competition. You could be in the Goldbridge Arms having a sing-song and a great night. So links in the description or scan the QR code. Really, really appreciate your support on that. On the 2 o'clock show, I'll show you all about the competition and stuff as well. But just wanted to draw your attention to that. Fantastic show this morning. Absolute legends. I really, really appreciate it. I'm back at 2 o'clock. We've got the double watch along on That's Football as well. Glad to have the Euros back. We're running out of games though. Bit sad. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you all in a bit.